Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own homemade Play-Doh. It's quite easy actually. So for this you're going to need a cup of salt. We have our salt package here. Here's my cup of salt. You're going to need 2 cups of flour. So here's our big flour package, 2 cups of flour. You're going to need a cup of water. And you're going to need a tablespoon of oil. So probably before you get started, I have my trusty plastic, but I know it has a lot of paint on. So when I get to the kneading part, I don't want the paint bits to get into my Play-Doh. So I have this piece of wax paper that I've put here. Before I start, it's always a good idea to take off any jewelry for your fingers. And if you want to add colors to your Play-Doh, what I have here is some pre-measured stuff. So I just have yellow, red, and blue, the basic primary colors. If you want to make some variations on that, you can always add, like if you have blue here. If you want to make it green, just a sec. I'm going to add, I should have brought some napkins, but you'll want to add some yellow, but you'll need to add a lot more yellow. Yellow is a less strong pigment than the blue. Blue is actually the strongest pigment, and yeah, red falls somewhere in between. So you can see that the water's turning actually kind of a teal color. So that'd be the color of your Play-Doh more or less. If we want to vary it up, maybe I'll just make it half and half. Okay, so because I'm making it half and half, I'm actually going to split the recipe in half. The water's already pre-split, so you can, and I'm pretty loose about this. So I'm going to use about half of my flour. And about half my salt. The salt is important for not only the texture, but also it helps preserve the Play-Doh. You could make something similar with just flour, water, a little oil for pliability, but it won't have the staying power as when you have the salt in. So you basically just add all your ingredients together. Maybe I should do the clear first, or make another color. And I'm going to do this. A little bit more. There we go. And you mix it all together. And the reason I add the coloring to the water is so that or else you'll get a marbled look. Unless you want a marbled look for your Play-Doh. So here we go. A little sticky, maybe needs a little more flour. If you've ever made bread before, it kind of has the texture of bread a bit. But texture of Play-Doh, something that you want to be workable and malleable. So when you have all the ingredients mixed together, just need to knead it a bit. I find this better when I stand. Knead. And if it's sticking too much, you need to add a little flour. So if it sticks a little too much, you just add a little flour. It'll help. I need to knead from up top. It's easier this way. And if it's not sticky enough and it's crumbling apart, you need more water. So here we have some green Play-Doh. because I split the recipe in half, so then I used about a half cup of salt, a half cup of water, a cup of flour, and a half tablespoon. So that's more or less what I have left. So I'm going to do another color. You could keep it plain and just have like natural white. I'm having a little fun with this. So let's put this here. So I have my other half cup of water. And let me put this in. And you'll find with colors, and this follows with painting as well, mixing colors in paint, is that blue is the strongest pigment, yellow is the weakest pigment, I guess, or not strong. Red is in between. So let's give this a little stir and see if I'm getting my purple. Kind of looks purple. That's good. And I needed a little oil. I didn't put that in yet. That helps with the stick factor. And here is, it's kind of a bluish purple. I'll add, well, it's still liquid, extra couple drops of food coloring. And we'll mix that in. There, that's more purpley. See if this mixes up okay. I think it has a little too much water. You can see that it's a little too liquidy. So that's where our handy having flour nearby. And I just add like a little by little at a time. I added a whole bunch there because this was really liquidy. I guess the color could have been stronger. Like I could have put more coloring in the water because this is not looking very purpley yet. So if this happens and you realize, oh, well, this is also an example of too much water, not enough flour. So just grab some of this and mix it in. And now I have a little too much flour, it looks like. I'll just leave that extra in the bowl. Put it aside. And again, knead it. Maybe what I'll show you is why you don't want to add the colors at the last minute. It is possible you can keep kneading it until you get the color you want. I see this isn't as purple as I wanted it, but adding the color at the end is a lot more difficult. So I'll just show you how that works. So like, I'll add a little more. I try and spread it around because it's hard to get continuous like one color. So it'll probably take a lot of kneading, but let's try that out. Got a good dose all over my hands. I'm going to have colorful hands after this. But if you want like a marbled kind of look, this is a good way to get a marbled look to your Play-Doh. And that little extra bit of, see, you can see how it gets marbled this way. And that extra bit of food coloring actually made it too damp. So I'm going to use this extra flour. Oh, and I got some food coloring all over. I'm seeing it leach into the green and other places. Oops. But that's part of creating. So if you're making a mess, you're having fun. And a big part of this is having fun and playing with it. Right? And experiencing play again. As adults, that's one thing that we really don't do as much. Like we might play with a child, we'll play with, our pets, but like actually play just creating for the sake of creating and enjoying it, because that's what you want to do, is something that is often forgotten in adulthood or left alone. You know, we're told, oh, you're an adult now, why do you want to do these childish things? But there's something about creating, and when you think about it, like, you know, these creations become all kinds of other things. If you like clay, people become potters, and that's a perfectly acceptable adult thing to do. But playing Play-Doh isn't always seen that way. Anyways, now my purple is a little more purple, not as solid color as I like. And then you can, of course, work it just like any other Play-Doh. You can roll it, you can pinch it, you can, if I had a knife, I'll use my spoon, you can slice it, you can put markings in it, however you want to use it. And this will be very useful for section 4. Oh, here comes one last piece about the homemade Play-Doh. So it's perfectly made, but you want to keep it that way. So when you're using it, if you want to keep a piece that you've made, so say you create your little creation, you love your little heart that you've made, or whatever it is, and you can leave it out and see if it'll dry. It'll definitely get a hard crust, but the inner part may not dry. Another thing you can do is you can put it into an oven for probably a couple hours, but on the lowest heat possible. So that'd be like, I know Fahrenheit better than Celsius. So it'd be like maybe at a like 150 oven, 150, 180 max. And I think you wouldn't want more than 100 degrees Celsius is my guess. So it has to be on a really low oven to dry. The other piece is when you're not using it, and to be able to keep it so you could use it again, is that you can put it in, I have the wax paper here. It could be saran, like plastic wrap. So you could just put it in the paper, and then I would get an extra bag and have it that way. And this will allow it to keep quite some time, I believe. Sometimes people keep it in their refrigerators if it's homemade, but it should be able to keep just outside in your home, covered in plastic, or you can put it in a plastic container. If you have a yogurt container or something around, you can throw it in there. So that is your homemade Play-Doh.